I was at a cocktail party. It was like a Christmas kind of thing, and my parents had invited me to this party. So I was with a bunch of their friends. This is at the time when Pamplemousse is really cranking, so we just did those Hyundai commercials. We bought a house, we built recording studios. Like, I was feeling pretty good, actually. Mingling, this fellow said, "Hey Jack, what do you do?" And I said, "I'm a musician." He like shakes my hand, he gets really sober, he puts a hand on my shoulder, and he says, "I hope you make it someday." And like, when you're dealing with the duds over and over and over, a sentence like that can just be so hurtful and raw and intense. My hope for creators moving forward is that at least if you have a monthly income, it can take some of the pain away from that. What's up, everybody? My name is Jack Conte. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Patreon, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Jack, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
Ooh, how did I get this job? Accidentally. I stumbled into it. I've been a YouTuber for a decade and a half, and in 2013, when I started the company, I didn't think I was really starting a company. I guess I kind of knew I was starting a company, but I had been working on this music video by myself for 3 months. I had poured my savings account into it. I maxed out 2 credit cards. I got these 2 robots to play electronic music with me in my converted dog kennel, which became my recording studio, and then, I got to the point where I finished this video. I had spent 10 grand. I had spent 3 months of my life on it. I was about to upload it to YouTube. And I thought, I'm going to get 1 million views in this video. And it's going to make me $166 in ad revenue. And I can't take that. I can't do that anymore. And I sketched out an idea for a solution to that problem on 14 pieces of printer paper, and I guess that's how I got my job.
Let's go back in the chronology a little bit. I like to ask people let's go to young Jack. What did you want to be when you were a little kid, when you grew up? And I ask that question with some context because I think there's, several buckets, but let's break it down to 2. There's a bucket of young people who are coming out of high school or college and wondering what they want to do with their life or what they're going to do with their life. And so we're sort of talking to them, giving them some advice from people who have some life experience. But then there's also a group of people, especially right now in this climate, whether you're middle-aged or whatever, like you're hitting the reset button because your whole world just got turned upside down and things are changing. And there's an opportunity or there's a necessity to hit the reset. And so I talked about what you wanted to do and like the signals and how you figured out how to get there.
Growing up, when I was very young, I went through a couple phases. First, I wanted to be a Muppeteer. I loved the Muppets, and I loved all the Muppet movies. I loved Jim Henson Studios. I loved everything they made. Yeah. And then I found out about claymation when I was a young teenager, like probably 12 or 13. I started watching Wallace and Gromit films, and my friend had a little movie camera, and you could double click the recording button to take approximately 1 frame. It ended up being maybe, instead of a full 24 frames per second, it was probably more like 10 frames per second. So not like full-blown animation, but you could get pretty close. And I started making animations, and then I wanted to be an animator. And I made animations for years and years and years, all the way through college. But I always wanted to be some form of artist in some sense. And the whole time I was playing piano and in bands and making music and making films. And in college I made films, and I thought maybe I want to be a filmmaker, and animators are filmmakers. And so there felt like there was some overlap there. But it was always something in the arts and something around storytelling.
So did you get any pushback from your parents? Like, Jack, you're going to be a starving artist. Go get a real job. Go be an accountant like your uncle, or a doctor like your aunt, or something.
Yeah, it's nuanced. My parents were very supportive of my passions. Like, if I've said anything otherwise, I'd be lying. Like, they were very supportive, to the point where I pitched them this idea for this anime. I wanted to take over a room in my house, and I needed like 4 years. And I wanted to take over a room, strip it out, build a set, put in a whole rig and a tripod and a lighting grig, and do the whole thing. And I was just seeing if I could get the room. And my parents not only gave me the room, but they gave me $2,000 to like make this animation. I was probably like, I don't know, 17 or 18. And then, like, instead of spending the summer working a job, I got to make this animation. And I spent all the money on the props and the sets and the foam latex and the armatures and the whole thing. So, you know, that, like, they were incredibly supportive of my dream.
So let me ask, why do you think that they were so supportive? Is it because, you know, they had their head screwed on straight, or was it because they saw, like, our son is brilliant and we think this could be a launching pad for something bigger? Like, why do you think that they greenlit that?
Probably, well, okay, so this it gets a little bit more complicated a little bit later. When I finally... So at one point I chose the music path versus going to grad school. Now, grad school was filmmaking. I had gotten into film school, and I was thinking about going to film school, but I was also in this pop band at the time, and I decided to not go to film school and be in the pop band. And my folks, that was a tough conversation with my parents, because I was on the safe track, school, you know, get the degree, get a job, and that was a hard, you know, we sat down and they were like, hey, you know, Jack, actually my mom started the conversation by saying, Jack, you can tell me anything you want in the whole world in this car. I know, you know, you've set this up. I know something, you're about to drop something. You can tell me whatever you want in the whole world, as long as you tell me you're still going to film school. And I was like, Mom, I'm not going to film school. And so then that was, you know, there was some push-pull there. But why were they so supportive? I think for maybe just because they were really good parents, and they knew that if I just loved what I did, you know, the kind of rest would follow. And I know that that's advice coming from a privileged person, you know, who's had the kind of the leeway to follow their passions and follow their dreams. And I realize that not everybody has that. And for whatever reason, I think my folks knew that, like, that I would figure it out. Because I really liked it, like, a lot. That's probably an understatement. I loved it.
I think there's some really smart advice that's subtle in there that I want to underscore, maybe from the parent perspective, because I am one now. You know, I think we have the tendency as parents to project, you know, either fear or our own success, our own path onto our progeny, right? And we're like, hey, this worked for me, so this could work for you too. And unfortunately, that's a little bit like saying, you know, this prescription is perfect for me, it should be perfect for you to try it on. It's not always the case. And so I think, you know, if you're a parent, you got to be a little bit wary of that advice, because it doesn't always work out. And then if you're a child listening to that advice, I remember a funny story that my wife told me about her dad, who, you know, is a super awesome guy. We're very close. He loves her, you know, more than air. But he said when she was a teenager, listen, honey, you should go take as many typing classes as you can, so that when you're a secretary, you know, you can really crush it, you know. I'm like, secretary? Like, what, you mean when she runs the company? Is that what you're talking about, Dad? You know, like, why are you encouraging her to be a secretary? And it's because that was his worldview. You know, he's a boomer, and, you know, he grew up in the generation where maybe that was your path if you were a female. But I was like, yeah, no, she probably is going to be the CEO way before me, because she's wicked smart and all these things. So I think we have to be careful about how we give the advice, and then also the context in which you take it, right, is pretty important.
I love that analogy of the glasses. I've never heard that before. And I like it because I've found in the past that I can overcorrect on advice. I'll get advice and I'll think, that's the path. I think at least for me, there are figures in my life who seem like Yoda. It seems like that person has the answer. They know the way. All I have to do is listen to them. And time again in my life, I've let myself be tricked into thinking that there is a leader who knows where to go, and I just have to listen to them. And time again, I get to a point where that person has given me a piece of advice, and I get to a place in my life and I realize that's not good advice, and that doesn't apply to me. And the lesson that I learned every time I freaking do that, and I wish I would stop doing that, but the lesson that I learn is like, use your brain, Jack. Like, apply your critical thinking skills and like think about what is right for me right now. What's right for me right now? What's gonna help me solve the problem I'm trying to solve? And so even when I listen to interviews now, and when I make videos that's, are kind of like probably like advice-y type videos, I always try to frame them as, here's what I learned and here's what applied to me. I don't know that this will apply to you, but here's how it happened for me, and maybe there's a nugget of truth in there that you could, use in your life somehow.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from and where I'm going. But like I say, man, always said it. It's not about the destination. It's all about the journey. Ain't nothing changed but the weather. The dangling carrot that hang from the rear view. Your dreams in the past ain't nowhere near you. Backseat drivers got nothing but 2 cents. Shotgun riders too biased, they all liars. I should get an A for effort, I'm too tired. But I'm never giving up, that's why I'm kinda admired. Role model, like it or not, I gotta play.